And now, it is time for the Late Night with the Devil review, brought to you by the Scotty Boy Rules YouTube channel. And now, here's Scotty. Thank you. Welcome to my review for Late Night with the Devil. I'm Scotty, and you're not. Ha. Alright, we have a great review for you tonight, right here. Not live, but you know what I mean. It's not live at all because we're recording in September for October, and yeah, with me as always is Chip B. Thulu. That's right. Let's go ahead and sit down because I don't have anything more for the bit. So let's all right. Late Night with the Devil is a quote-unquote found footage film. It came out last year, made its rounds earlier this year as well. Stars David Dastmalchian as Jack Delroy, a late night host from the 70s whose final show literally went out with a bang, I guess you could say. It wasn't meant to be his final show, but it did. And the idea of it was kind of like a different version of the idea that Grave Encounters was doing, where they were filming an episode of this TV show that went way out of their control. That's what this is supposed to be. They add to it by making the beginning of this a documentary. It's narrated by Michael Ironside. At first I thought it was Stacy Keach. I'm like, no. I know that voice, but Stacy Keach? No. And as I was putting DVDs away, I was closer to the TV when I heard him narrating, and I went, that's Michael Ironside. So yes. As we see the history of Jack, as he was late night host, trying to outdo Johnny Carson. And let's face it, nobody's going to outdo Carson, but he tries. And he and his wife are, trying to keep this going, and his wife unfortunately gets cancer and eventually dies. And then Jack takes some time off, but comes back strong, although the ratings are declining. Of course, you see all this shtick that he does, of the goofy skits like late night shows sometimes do. Like, who could forget Jimmy Fallon's "Ew"? Right, or that Mad Lib theater that he does. Craig Ferguson and I'm Aquaman, and life leaves you with questions. Seeing it rise from under the sea. Dear Aquaman, please give your advice to me, Aquaman. I want to sing it in French too, because they went to France, they're doing it in French. There's also Larry King of the Jungle. That's literally Larry King in the jungle, spouting off a one-liner. It's not really Larry King, it's Craig Ferguson, but you know what I mean. Yes, when it comes to late night TV shows, I grew up watching Jay Leno with my mom, and sometimes David Letterman, but mostly Jay Leno, Tonight Show. I have watched Jimmy Fallon on the Tonight Show. I have watched the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson very much. I used to record it on a VHS tape when I went to bed and watch it when I come home from work. I did watch a little bit of what's his name? Craig, not Kilborn, the other guy. I can't think of his name. The guy who took over the Late Late Show afterwards, you were screaming it at me, and I can't remember. I'm thinking Craig because that was his character's name on Doctor Who, was Craig. Which is funny, because he would take the role away from Craig Ferguson after another Craig already was the host, Craig Kilborn. But anyway, so I have familiarity with late night show hosts. This is the 70s, though. So, not my forte. I wasn't even born yet. I like this movie, okay? My problem comes from the fact that they are presenting this to us as if it is footage from the last show. And they're like, well, you're about to see is footage from the last show. And then they put on complete with never before seen behind the scenes footage. Because they couldn't stick to the format of all of this is just footage from the show. No, they have to actually show what happens after they cut the cameras. It's weird because this is all presented in a 4.3 aspect ratio like it would be on TV back then. But when it cuts the cameras and it's supposed to be behind the scenes footage, it becomes widescreen, which makes no sense because whatever is filming. Now, if this was just, oh, it's what happened, but again, it wouldn't make sense, so they had to say it was behind the scenes footage. But it would so weird to believe that somebody in 1976 is recording this. It would still be in 4.3 aspect ratio, not full screen, or not widescreen, not, you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. This film is pushed forward by the performance of David Dastmalchian, who plays Jack, and is great. The plot revolves around a last-ditch effort to raise the ratings before the show is canceled. You know, unless he does that, the show is going to be canceled. He brings on this sidekick guy named Crystal, and there is this jackass. He's one of those guys. He's a skeptic. He's one of those who is out there to point out everything that is fake about stuff like this. He's a naysayer. One of those guys. Carmichael Haig is his name. Based off of the real skeptic James Randi from back in the 70s, who even clashed with Carson. But anyway, and then there is this supposedly 13-year-old girl, played by, at this point, 17-year-old, who's now 18 years old. I wanted to look up the age because they were saying that she was 13, and she looked older than that, so I looked it up, and she's 18, so she's playing younger, like you do. You know, when you had 25-year-olds playing teenagers on Power Rangers, so you know what I mean. Well, they were 20, but still. I wanted to see if she just looked young, if she was like 20 playing 13. No, she's like 17 at the time playing 13, which is close enough, I guess. And it all hinges from this because she has... So, this girl was a prisoner of this cult of Abraxas, where this cult leader guy was taken out, he was arrested and or killed. I think he's dead. And so she's the only survivor, but she can commune with someone called Mr. Wrigley. No, not the Wrigleys from, not Pete Wrigley or little Pete Wrigley from Adventures of Pete and Pete. No, Mr. Wrigley, because it wriggles inside the head and wriggles back out. Yeah. And live on the show, they present this whole thing where she's possessed, weird things happen, and Mr. Carmichael Haig over here is like, oh, no, didn't happen. But we all saw it. Fake news, as they would say now. You know, and he tries to prove this. Yeah, so he tries to prove this by stating that he can prove it. So he takes Gus, the co-host, the Ed McMahon of this thing, if you will, and he hypnotizes him to believe that he has worms crawling out of his body. And the people at home and in the studio also see it. However, it is revealed that this is all hypnotism and it never actually happened. Because they check the camera footage, which we are supposed to be watching. Remember that. Remember, we are supposed to be watching the footage that was presented. That was all recorded for the final episode of the show. The episode of the show ended up being the final episode. Remember that. We're supposed to be watching the footage. And we see the worms coming out of his body. And everything. All that stuff. And then he said, oh, let's check the footage. And nothing. You know, nothing happens. And you're supposed to think, oh, we see it because okay, so a lot of people can defend this and be like, "Oh, well, you see it because you were also hypnotized," and I'm like, "No, because I tried to get in that headspace. They don't keep the medallion thing on screen long enough to actually hypnotize people watching it. It cuts too much." Purposely, because maybe you might actually be able to hypnotize someone that way. I don't know. But, I used to watch Chris Angel Mind Freak, and when he would try to hypnotize you, and the best it ever did was just calm me. Which I think is what hypnotism is supposed to be. You're supposed to just calm yourself. And then you're like, oh, I feel kind of weird. It's because you've put yourself in a state of calmness. It's calmed you down so much that you now feel so much better than you did before. That's what it does. It isn't actually, you're not actually hypnotized or whatever. It calms you down. It's that level of calmness. You know what I mean? That's the best it ever did to me, But it's not like Chris Angel had me jumping out the window or anything. No. Best it did was calm me down. Which is really good because after that was probably bedtime, and so I could go to sleep pretty easily. You know what I mean? But yeah, so then we're presented with the actual footage, which is what we're supposed to have been watching anyway, and nothing happens. It's all hypnotized. So then they decide, hey, let's look at the footage of what happened with the girl, right? Which is pretty much what they could have done. Like, I don't think, like, as much as I like the sequence with the worms coming out of his body, it looks pretty cool. I think you could have just had Carmichael go, hey, she's hypnotizing people into seeing stuff. And if you want proof, just watch the footage. The actual footage. Play the actual footage for us. And then he'll be proven wrong. There's this whole thing with a check, which is also based off James Randi, about, oh, I will pay you this much money if you can prove that the stuff is real, which technically this guy owes Jack money, but by the end of this, doesn't matter. But, yeah, so they show this footage, what actually happened. See? Now, I caught on to this early on, but it's fairly obvious that this girl is clearly possessed the entire time she's there. Like, the way she acts, the way she stares at people, she is completely possessed. And this whole thing with Mr. Wrigley is just a way to, fool people into thinking that she's normal, and then you get this, And, despite the fact that June, the person in charge of her, keeps telling Jack it's a bad idea. He wants the ratings, so he's going to do this. Yeah. Yeah. And then shit hits the fan. Yeah, because then the girl's head splits open. Actually, kills everyone but Jack. He gets away in an elevator. And then the movie just kind of peters out for me. Because it appears as if her head, goes aflame. She kills the sidekick guy. I forgot his name. I'm sorry. I said it earlier. I forgot his name. Kills him. And it was foreshadowed earlier with, when Carmichael is going to hypnotize me, he's like, my wife likes my head the way it is. Don't turn it around. And so then she causes her neck break that way, she kills Carmichael, and I assume June was also dead. Now, according to Wikipedia, there's a line from earlier where she says, in the demon's voice, Mr. Wriggle, we met a long time ago under the long trees, the high trees. According to Wikipedia, that's supposed to say that he had some sort of relationship with June. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't see it implied anywhere within the movie itself. But after Jack, so We get the whole thing, people are killed, fire going on, and then it cuts. The station cuts. Show's over. This is technically where the movie should end, because this is where the footage would end. Because the station cut. But, inexplicably, we go in another direction that makes no sense, because you are presenting this as footage that was found of this final show. The aspect ratio changes to widescreen again, and Jack is basically living his best moments, including the reveal that he was accidentally behind the death of his wife. He made a deal with the devil to get higher ratings, and it's kind of a monkey paw situation. Okay, I'll give you higher ratings, but I'm taking your wife. He didn't. According to David Dastmalchian himself, he didn't knowingly do it. It was the monkey paw situation where he made a deal with the devil for power, and there has to be a sacrifice, but he didn't realize it was going to be his wife, and so, yeah, that's what happened. So yeah, he made a deal with the devil, or Braxis, or whatever. He reliving all this stuff, and then he sees a vision of his wife. She begs for him to kill her, and he stabs her, and then it flashes to reveal that he actually stabbed the girl. And it's back in widescreen again, which is, we're led to believe, is now we're back on the air as we hear police sirens. What? This makes no sense to me. You already did the station break thing. Cut off. Show's over. For all intents and purposes, the footage that you are presenting is from this final show should be over with. Weird dream sequences, notwithstanding, how now is there footage of him? I just don't get it. Maybe that was only one camera that cut, but it's a station break, so it would... I don't know how to explain this. I just don't. I also mentioned something earlier that I skipped. It was when Christo, the sidekick, was trying to read the audience, he came across the name Minnie, and keep pounding in his head, which is eventually revealed was the nickname that Jack had for his wife, Madeline. Which makes no sense, because Minnie's not short for Madeline. Maddie, hello. But, yeah, I don't know. It's, I didn't like the ending. I understand found footage has to, everyone dying. I get that. I hate that. I mean, that one from VHS Viral, 2 of the guys survived. But, whatever. Jack survives, and I'm assuming he went to jail for all this. I don't know, because there is proof that something happened. Again, it's a live show, so it's not like it was pre-recorded like most shows do now. Like Craig Ferguson pre-recorded. I know Tonight Show was live, but like Craig Ferguson pre-recorded, and he would joke constantly. Oh, I was just watching Dave, because we're live, of course. Oh, wasn't Dave good tonight? Yeah, he was like, because we're live, we're live. So Dave, wasn't it guest that was on was good? Yeah. He made jokes like that because they were pre-recorded, but Dave was live. So Letterman was live, so it was like, Anyway, yeah, the ending. As much as I do like the sequence at the end, I don't like how it's presented, because to me, it should have technically ended when the station broke, because how does it come back? The devil will it back just so I can... I don't know. And again, for all intents and purposes, the footage that we should be seeing is David Dastmalchian just standing there until he stabs her. I don't know. And again, Would he be going to jail now, or is there going to be a whole court case? I like to see a sequel where it's a court case. Maybe found footage filmed in 1970s where they're trying to prove that there was actual demonic possession. Right? And you got like an associate of Carmichael Hakes trying to prove that it wasn't, and it was an elaborate hoax, and that it was just to kill people off, trying to prove, do something like that. Maybe you could continue it. I don't know. But I'll give it a pretty good, because I did enjoy it. There are just little things that tick me off. If you're trying to present this as footage, don't add extra footage that doesn't match the current footage. Like, why is the behind the scenes footage that's supposed to be us seeing what happened behind the curtain, why is it widescreen when the 4.3 ratio you're establishing with this being a show from the 70s would make more sense? Because you are also telling us that someone is filming this behind the scenes footage. Why is it widescreen? And the whole ending, by the way, it's in widescreen until the scene where he is going to stab his wife because she wants him to. That's in 4.3, and I don't understand why. I don't know. But David S. Malchin is really good in this. I think he's one of those underrated actors that deserves more credit. You know what I mean? I quote him all the time from Ant-Man and the Wasp. You like Baba Yaga? Every time he pops on the screen, so that my son knows who it is, he'll pop on and I'll look at my son and I'll go, "You know Baba Yaga?" And he, oh, it's him, it's that guy. Yeah. But yeah, it's the middle of the road. So, with that, it's time to sign off. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one. Matt, we're supposed to end.